we go. Mr. Paul Dodd. I'm also going to say, Paul, is this your first time visiting us? Paul, you are guest number 101. How exciting is that? Tonight, Lucie Blue Tremblay, all the way in from the Maritimes, right, Lucie Blue? So it's bedtime where you are. And Lucie is a good...
Yet.
It's dinner time.
Dinner time in Toronto. Wine time for Beth and Margot. Anyway, so for everybody, we just want to welcome you here. And Lucie,
and Joe, we have another first-time guest to welcome, Reverend Dr. William Knight.
Wow.
William, where are you? I'm gonna make my screen bigger. Got so many folks here tonight. William, welcome. And Michael, welcome.
Oh, yay.
Outstanding. So we're over 100 folks. So it took us 8 weeks, but we broke the 100 number. So give us some props there. SanctuaryOnline is figuring it out. And we want to thank all of you, welcoming you back if you're have been with us before, and I will welcome you to Sanctuary in the Woods if you're new to us tonight. And a little tiny bit of background. As many of you know, Sanctuary in the Woods, our dream has been to build a beautiful property just out east of Austin, Texas. And our goal was to build a property where folks could come and stay, and also where folks could gather for different curriculum, Lucie, for concerts, for loads of wonderful community building events. And we had our engineers with us, we had our lawyers with us this spring. The first quarter, we were really moving along. And then, Barb, if you go ahead and mute some folks there for me. We were moving along, and suddenly COVID hit, right? And there we were, Sanctuary in the Woods, thinking, well, here we are building a place where folks are going to come and gather, except they can't come and gather anymore. And it was a real shift. I will tell you, as I'm sure for many of you, it was just this, whoa. And how long can it really last? My sister Linda was telling us that tonight we were talking about a while. You know, that's a very relative term right now, right? And so anyway, what we wanted to do was we were kind of punched in the gut, and then we asked ourselves a question. We said, how can we still be Sanctuary? How can we still offer the programming, be the community? How can we take what we've been given as a challenge and turn it into a brand new opportunity? And so honestly, I don't think it took very long. There was definitely a few pots of coffee. There was some water. I will promise you there was a bit of wine. And suddenly we said, let's do it online. Everyone's going online. Why can't we, right? And what gave us some real permission was the non-need for perfection. You know, a lot of folks were just throwing it out there. Churches had to turn on a dime overnight. And we knew that we had some constituencies and some communities to lead, to offer. And again, we threw it up way before we were ready. If those of you who were with us the first night, you saw our nervousness and our asking ourselves our own questions. Should we really be doing this at our age and this quickly? And the answer has obviously been yes. So you have been coming, many of you, every Tuesday night. What we do is our goal is to offer relevant conversations. We have had guest speakers in. We'll continue to have guest speakers in, masters in their field. We've had folks talk to us about change management. We've had folks talk to us about mental health. We've had folks lead us in dialogue around social justice. We've had folks lead us in dialogue around the health concerns when Ken came down with COVID, and COVID per se came into Sanctuary, and it got very personal for many of us. So tonight we want to begin to shift though. All right, so we're continuing to offer to try and answer the questions that people are asking right now, right? What's in the news, but we also want to make sure some nights we have some deep work and some nights we have some lighter work, okay? And we also want to make sure that we begin to pivot as the world begins to open up. Different communities, that means different things. And for different people, right, that means different things. Just because a restaurant's open, I'm not sure that means I should go to it. And so we have those individual questions to ask. And we thought, what a great time to say, what would it be like to come out of the COVID closet and to have a conversation around some of the information, and I would offer the misinformation that's out there. We are not positioning ourselves as experts tonight. We're positioning ourselves as facilitators of the conversation, okay? So I expect there to be some disagreement, I would hope. I would also expect there to be disagreement with love. and curiosity rather than judgment, and friendliness, and just being the wonderful people that you all are. So can I get that promise from you with a little bit of some head nodding and some thumbs up there? Fantastic. Good, good. So tonight is going to be more of an open forum. Look at you all using, oh, I forgot, Cheryl taught us a Zoom class. Lucy, you would have loved that. A couple nights ago, we did a Zoom 101 or Zoom for Dummies, right? So Cheryl had us practicing. What are you all doing? You all are going down to your participants, and you're over hitting your yeses and nos and your reactions, your thumbs up and your applause.
Duck.
You guys are fabulous. So I want to start out. We do have some information. We put some slides together and some data points to have some conversations later on tonight. But I want to start, if you will indulge me, in a little bit of a story. Here we go. Many of you, if you can see that right now, are you seeing? Many of you know that over this last week, Cheryl and I and Sobel, we did our usual spring fling, and we tried to leave Sanctuary. The most challenging folks to leave, obviously, Governor was not happy, and Governor runs the show down there, as you all know. She's about 4 years old right now. But Gov follows direction. When you say, Gov, get out of the car, she's like, okay. Molly, not so much. Molly was gonna come to Michigan. So she was tucked in with Sobel, and she had no intention of leaving. And I don't know how long, Cheryl, did it take us to get her out of the car? It was quite some time. We did finally leave her there, Tom, just so you know. So Tom and Ken and Barb, we left Molly down with Paul. As we moved, and Cheryl, I'm gonna ask you to jump in here a little bit. It was very interesting to quote unquote travel, we say under COVID or during COVID, but we drove to Hot Springs, Arkansas the first night, and we were very careful along the way. Cheryl and I have two different ways to use the facilities, but when we were going to gas stations, we would always glove or always use a Clorox wipe, me doing the gas. And then going in to use the facilities was very careful. I had a system that I had built out. Cheryl's was a little bit different. If you want to speak to that, Cheryl, I'm not sure.
No, I don't need to tell him to use the toilet.
What, Mom?
He sits on it.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Anyway, there was thoughtful about how we took off. So here in Arkansas, you also see there's a bunch of folks that were, Sobel makes friends wherever she goes. But this was kind of the first time that we were letting strangers, you know, come into the car space and visit with Sobel. So those were just some folks there. Cheryl, do you want to say anything about Arkansas?
Yeah, I mean, here, even though they're visiting with Sobel, we are not that close to Sobel. We're standing a little bit further away. It was kind of interesting because the first thing we thought of was, oh my gosh, we're going to go in elevators. And so we had to make sure we had something like Clorox wipe. We would touch, when we touched the buttons on the elevators and stuff like that, it was pretty wild, you know. And this cart right here, I'm pushing Sobel in a cart because she got too tired to walk. So we took her up to the hotel in the cart, but then these carts, we totally wiped them down, right? And all those kinds of things. We were surprised at how many people were not masked. And, you know, even though we didn't get to do the normal things about the big breakfast and the manager's reception at this hotel that we love, because they had all those things closed down, they still had a lot more openness than we expected after I had made a phone call. Because I called the calls and one of the hotels, I said, oh, well, we're not staying there. They're 80% capacity. We're not going there, you know. And so, but this was one of the hotels we went to. And just by comparison, for this one in Arkansas to the one we stayed in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, very, very different. They were all masked there, and they all were very careful. They had a lot of sanitizing everywhere you went. There was sanitizing, and then this You can tell them about this lovely place that we ate in the parking lot.
Yeah, there was a real difference in Arkansas, you know, and I think Edie and Mandy, did you guys stay at the Embassy Suites as well? Edie and Mandy, they also just traveled from Texas, from Austin up into Michigan to visit with Edie's family, Edie's parents.
Sorry. Yeah, we tried to get in there, but we couldn't. We ended up staying at an H2.
Home to suites. Yeah.
Home 2. Which we took, I don't know, I was cheered by the fact that it was very new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it felt very clean because it was very new. And we had a kitchen, so we could, you know, you make our own food, and we ate in-house, so to speak, with stuff we brought with us. And we're traveling with the dog as well. And same thing though, you know, we'd go down to take the dog out and nobody was wearing a mask. And
In Arkansas. Yeah. And then Cheryl, we were in a Home to Suites. This is a Home to Suites in Southern Illinois.
Yeah, well, and it was in Champaign-Urbana. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the places where we chose this hotel over another one because they were committed to wearing masks. And it was really interesting, as you can see, Cheryl was like right there, all masked up with her Sanctuary shirt. But they had these signs around elevators, and I'll just pop through these really quickly. In the elevator, they had elevator etiquette. It was a smaller hotel. In the larger hotels where you had a bank of elevators, we just didn't go in with anybody else. But 2 people and social distancing, and really kind of neat that they were educating along the way. They did have their ice machines were closed. There was no food at all. The fitness center was closed. The pool was closed. So it was a little bit challenging. You know, we were kind of surprised at how much caution this hotel offered. The neat thing though, at every elevator, it had a Purell station, either right there as a stand or right here. And then again, how to sanitize your hands. So when you're pushing those buttons, and suddenly, you know how when we said when Ken first got sick, we had to think over again all the ways we had thought we had been safe. You know, initially, I will say at this hotel, and this picture right here, Cheryl is pushing Sabo, but what you don't see is the first loaded dolly that I didn't think about it. I put all of our stuff on there. It was late at night. And then I thought, wow, I should have wiped this thing down ahead of time. You know, when we took it into our room was sealed and sanitized. None of the hotel people would come into the room, and they wouldn't do anything while you were there. But Cheryl and I both kind of sat down afterwards that first night and said, we learned quite a bit, you know, after this first night, and the way we handled ourselves in this second hotel was a little better. I will tell you, this is our first meal at a restaurant. And as you can see, there was people inside, there were people on the patio, and then Cheryl really wanted to be safe, so they put us in the parking lot, and we were happy to have dinner in the parking lot. And she's like, "Do you feel okay about this?" I'm like, "I feel okay about this." But anyway, let me stop sharing and come back to the large group. I wonder if either anybody else has been doing any traveling like that before we talk about restaurants and things, or anybody has anything to share regarding travel under COVID. If anybody's gone maybe on an airplane or things like that want to offer their perspective.
I'll tell you about the rest of our trip,
Thanks,
Joby. So that hotel in Hot Springs was so crowded that when it came time to find a hotel in Champaign, I picked one that was a little more at the high end of the price spectrum, hoping that would mean there'd be fewer people, and there were almost nobody.
Yeah.
And because it was a higher end hotel, we ordered food, but they wouldn't let the carryout guy bring it up to the room. The people in the hotel brought it up. They brought us a luggage cart, and they said, "We've just disinfected you."
Okay.
So
It's okay.
they took those little extra measures. To me, it was worth it. The price per room was high, Then we checked in and they're like, and it'll be $100 flat fee for the pet. And I was like, $100? The room's not $100.
Yeah.
And he said, anyway, so my little frou-frou dog got $100. We made sure she wore the robe and, you know, all that. And and then here in Michigan, you know, at first with my folks, it was masks and all that, but it's kind of like, well, we're going to be spending the next 3 days with you, so we just have to make a decision. My sister-in-law comes over and she goes, don't touch them, they came from Texas. There's this huge outbreak in Texas. And I said, we hardly leave the house except when we need to. We wear masks all the time. She's like, oh, you've been careful? I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, the further north you go, the more masks you see. I don't know, might speak to level of intelligence, just saying.
Oh, careful, careful, Edie. Yeah, let's thank you. I'm gonna jump to Erin. Erin, go ahead and unmute yourself, my friend. There.
Hi, everyone. We went to a graduation party last weekend and I was meeting someone new and it was the first time and I accidentally just did what we always do, which is I shook the guy's hand and I had this instant, like, I'm so sorry if that wasn't okay for you. Like, oh my gosh, and it was just such interesting times we're living in, and that how do I greet someone appropriately? And I'm such a hugger, but it was really this feeling immediately of I just invaded his space and I don't know if he was okay with that, and I felt bad, you know, but interesting.
No, absolutely, Erin. It's a different time, and traveling, like I said, it just gives you another kind of perspective on your own behavior. And I think we're going to talk here in a moment about our behavior out and interacting with other people. How do we want to make choices around that? So no, thank you for that. I'm going to ask you in a minute, Erin, too. I know you're back to the gym training for a competition, so I want to speak to you about that as well. Lisa, did I see your hand up there?
Yep. So it's very interesting that you guys are coming out into the world and experiencing things that in my medical practice, we've actually been practicing since March, April timeframe. And what we've seen the first thing that we did was we sent about 60 people home to telework. So our practice had never done that before, so we had to create the policies and procedures around that. And then of course we had all the patient-facing folks that, you know, the medical practice is oncology, hematology specialty, and you know, those patients still need us. And so our nurses, our medical assistants, our physicians, front desk people, you know, they're there, you know, for our patients on the front lines, face to face. So from the very beginning, we've been doing the hand sanitizing. I think Joby actually saw when I went to a distillery when there was no hand sanitizer left to be found, and got the distilled alcohol hand sanitizer. So I can add that to my resume that I'm now a bootlegger. Yeah, and so recently we began to bring the teleworkers back, and we had some interesting, I mean, we actually had 0 exposures inside the practice across 12 locations, 13 locations. And we had only two employees, right? We had either 2 or 3 employees that actually contracted COVID. One was in a very bad way on the respirator, coma, the whole 9 yards. He's now back at work, good to go, testing negative. So that's a huge blessing. You know, we know that he contracted COVID outside in having to use public transportation in the Silver Spring area of Maryland. But we had a really good track record. Now we're bringing folks back in and we're running into new questions around, is that the right thing to do? We believe it is, but now we're kind of backing from that position to revisit the idea of telework on whole. That idea, if you can, why not? It's 2020. So, but I'm feeling all the feels that you guys are having around going out into the world. Frequently, I've got my mask on. you know, inside the spaces that we're working in, we're social distancing. We're doing all of the things that we need to do to be safe. But you know, walking out into the world and seeing everything that you guys are seeing around. You know, I'm in Virginia, and I don't see a lot of masks. And you know, and so, you know, you kind of feel kind of funny, like there's a peer pressure. And I'm like, screw it, wearing a mask, because if I'm not protecting myself, I'm protecting somebody else, and especially the people at home. So don't want to overtake the whole thing here, but I think it's you know, it is a very strange situation we're in, and it's interesting as we do walk out into the world, and you know, it's almost like the first time we've stepped on the moon in a lot of ways, or maybe how we'll step onto Mars.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Lisa. And I appreciate your medical background. I also know you've been going into work, right? Although you put many of your folks on telework, you've actually been driving still, going into work with the practices in the many offices, right?
Well, we actually, thanks for that question, Joey, because we actually, you know, we were in the midst of the PPE shortage. Couldn't get the personal protection, protective clothing, you know, the gowns and the masks and the different things that we use in our day-to-day activities. And so we're having to be, super creative. We ordered 10,000 masks 2 months ago, maybe even 12 weeks ago. And with the holdups in customs and so on, they arrive tomorrow. In the meantime, we have sourced masks and so on from everywhere else. So a lot of creativity, a lot of brave people. You know, that's just, we care about each other, and we care about our patients and the fight that they're already in. And if we can provide just that much more comfort to folks in a very scary time, you know, and we're all pushing each other a little bit. You know, we put an absolute zero visitor policy, so no family members could come in unless it was absolute. So for instance, a person in a wheelchair could have a caregiver come along, but none in the exam room and in the infusion areas, none, unless it was non-ambulatory. And they're pushing back on us a little bit. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
Can we come in now? You know,
Yeah.
so we're making those decisions to the best of our ability.
Sure. And that's why I think we're again, one of the reasons we're having this conversation tonight, Lisa. I will offer you this beautiful mask that Cheryl's wearing. My mom made that. So Mary, what do you need? Lisa, you need 10,000. So we'll get right on that, right, Mom?
Get on that, Mom.
My mom's a seamstress, and suddenly even Janice, all the family, right? They had masks coming in the mail. So we appreciate that.
Joe?
Yeah, Linda, I'm gonna go to you, because Linda is my sister up here who's been living in Cadillac. She's in sales, and so has been on the road, but sent home. And the accounts that Linda has are smaller accounts. Many of them have shut down. And then I want to thank Linda. After I go to you, I know there's some folks from Toronto, Margot and Beth, Kevin. You're in Canada, a different perspective, but you're in Europe, more of a rural area. So I wonder again if you all are willing to share. Darcel, you guys are out in California, and so I think what was interesting was based on how people are managing, how Lisa, like you said, are different. And I was just on the phone with my college roommates. I host a call every Sunday month, and they were, you know, us going from Austin, Texas, where things are spiking like crazy in Texas, to Michigan. My mom says tonight, okay, there was one more, which means we have 18 cases and 3 deaths in a 3-county area. I mean, it's like it's not here, right, Linda? So maybe you can speak a little bit to that.
It's been pretty safe in northern Michigan. Michigan has been on the high scale since this started. We were, I think, 3rd or 4th in the nation for quite a while.
Yeah.
But specifically the southern part of the state, of course, the larger cities. Northern Michigan, Cadillac is a city of 10,000, so fairly small in comparison. And there's a lot of cottage areas around the Great Lakes. And in Michigan, if you don't know the state, you can drive 50 miles and hit water anywhere within the state. So there's a lot of cottages, a lot of vacation spots, a lot of second homes. In my experience, 2 things. One, that your friend that just spoke the doctor or the, yeah. One arm of our business, we have a promotional arm, anything with logos, anything from ink pens to coffee cups to you name it. We can get logoed masks with your company logos on them. We reached out early on in March when the PPE was such in high demand and nobody could get it. We reached out through our promotional arm of our newspaper. It's just another division we have, and started selling PPE to all the nursing homes, assisted living, and hospitals. And we reached out not only in Michigan, but people started hearing about us. We can go anywhere. We can ship this material anywhere, and we can get it quickly. I don't know why so many people, and it started out we had to have large quantities. Now we can get as few as 100 if you need them. So
Yeah, for
I
logos.
can get that for you. If you want to get a hold of Joe to get a hold of me, I can certainly, we can ship anywhere. So if you need PPE, bonnets and gowns and masks, we've been able to get for everybody. And now we can get them logoed. They're a little more pricey, but they're washable and they have a filter in them. So
Well, I
that's kind of
totally
unique.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're actually,
Get
things are loosening up. I'm waiting for the
I'm
quality
glad
of
they
toilet
are.
paper to come back up.
Yeah, I hear you. Joe and Cheryl brought us some. But as far as my work, the county that I predominantly work in have been closed until 2 weeks ago. Just the essential businesses were open, like lumber yards. I have a fair amount of Amish, and they've been open the whole time. So I've been able to sell to my Amish customers, sell some ads. And the lumber yards and hardware stores and restaurants that continued to do takeout were available for me to call on. But for the most part, we've worked from home, and I haven't been very far, just across the street to my mom's.
Yeah.
And taking care of our shopping needs. So,
Yeah.
But Michigan is now opening up to, first it was 20 people gathering, then it was 100 people gathering. Now we're up to 250, and it all happened in a matter of 2-week spans. And we're fairly back to work. And I think the masks here, as I go out, it's 50-50. You go in a store and half people wear masks and half don't. If it's their store, same thing with their own people. Some are wearing them, some are not.
Yeah, too, Linda, when we were in Illinois, we went into the Walgreens and things like that, and they required masks. So it was, there were a couple stores, different stores actually said, do not come in without a mask. And that was.
And I don't think they're forcing that here. I think a lot of people have that sign, but they're not, they won't turn you away. I mean, they're not doing that, but got to be careful about that. Politics involved gets really scary.
Yep, absolutely. And it has become somewhat of a binary world, right? So we want to be careful and safe. That was something that was on Cheryl's and my mind as well. You know, do you talk to someone when they're not 6 feet behind you in the coffee line? You know, how do you engage that with love, but with kind of some firmness when you're around folks and you don't know where they've been? And I'm coming home to a 91-year-old mom, you know, so I'd love to hear from Canada. I don't know if a couple of you, Kevin or Margot and Beth, I know you all are downtown. Lucie Blue, I know I'm not sure, I know you have a beautiful sunset. I'm not sure if you're in a rural area, or Janice, if you all want to speak. Barb, I'm gonna just jump into some slides here in a minute, and Barb was showing how Canada's trend line has gone up, and it looks like a ski slope, you know, heading way down, where the US is up and kind of looking like a like not a ski slope, let's just put it that way, and a very different maybe experience. So anybody Kevin, I see, did you unmute there, my friend?
Yeah, I live in Toronto, which is a large metropolitan area. It's about 3 million people. The greater Toronto area is about 6 million, so there's lots of people around. I haven't been going anywhere. I mean, I've been working from home for years, so really that part didn't change. You know, the first couple of weeks leaving the house to go for groceries kind of felt a little bit, I don't know what the word is, like a Twilight Zone experience or something. But now I guess you're just getting used to it and putting up with the lines. All the grocery stores have lines outside them, and the liquor stores have big lines outside them. I would say probably about 50-50 with the masks, maybe a little more on the masks than 50-50, but you know, kind of around there. The province started to open up, I guess about a week or two ago. but there were some still warm spots, including Toronto and down in the Windsor area, that did not open up as rapidly. And I think as of this weekend, or maybe even tomorrow, most of those areas are going to loosen up a bit. There have been some, it's hard to know the full picture. There certainly have been some times when the press has been showing, beaches with, hundreds of people, and parks with, several hundred people, and this sort of thing. And there's certainly a bit of a how responsible is that kind of attitude coming back? And to some degree we all have to police ourselves, but on the other side we're also all responsible for each other. So I think kind of struggling with where that line is.
Kevin, that's exactly why we're on the call tonight, is that line is going to be different for so many of us. And how to come to it, like you just were saying, I appreciate that, without judgment, right? How can I say, or should I say, those knuckleheads, or those idiots, why are they, and like you said, people have their own choices. I think in Canada, the news is a little bit different, maybe a little less binary up there, but I'm appreciating that is the crux of the conversation, is how do we behave out there? What are the decisions we're making? And the conversations that we're having with folks who are maybe choosing to go out in the world differently than we are. How can we educate and yet be in love and communicate, and share caring as well. Yeah. I don't know, Beth or Janice, you're in more of a rural Ontario. When you say Ontario, Kevin, it's interesting because a lot of folks might think Toronto, but Ontario is so big. Like Michigan, like my sister was saying, down south, there's a lot of people in some big cities. Up north, there's more lakes than people, and so it's a very different experience. Janice, you're north, about 2 hours north of the city, maybe 2.5 hours north of Toronto. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's
well, and Janice, you're
obvious.
Also a nurse, right? So let's just share that as well, so
Yes.
we have some medical perspective. I appreciate that.
I have worn a mask when I was out since this whole thing started, and I was definitely in the minority. I found that even just lately, you're seeing more and more masks in the community, but still, again, probably about a 50-50. Depends if they're locals, then you see more. But if they're visitors to the area, I was standing in a grocery line last week, and there was a couple came up, and they were standing the 6 feet behind, but they were commenting that there were so many people wearing masks in this area. So I was thinking, okay, well, where are you from?
Yeah.
And anyway, as far as opening, things have started to open up. Got my first haircut yesterday, so that was
congratulations.
That was a treat. But again, you have to follow all your rules and regulations with hand cleaning and wearing your mask while you're getting your haircut and things like that. They had started opening the beaches, and then had made the announcement today that they were closing Sauble again due to people not obeying the distance rules and partying on the beach. They were allowed to go to the water and go for a swim or walk on the beach, but not allowed to congregate on the beach. And that was totally disregarded. So they've closed everything down again. So in our area, there's very few cases. And most, again, like Canada, is in nursing homes. So, but fortunately, there's been no deaths in our area, and very few cases. So we just try and keep it that way.
Yeah, I will. I thank you. And I really will offer it. It almost feels, Cheryl, you might have a different perspective here, but it was very alive and very real to us, both on Sanctuary in Austin and in Texas. And I wonder if I get some nods from the folks that are from down there. And up here, way up here. Mandy, you and Edie stopped in southern Michigan, where, like Linda said, a very hot spot, number 3 and 4 in the nation. But up here, it almost feels a bit like it's not real. And therefore, are we going through some of the motions, you know? And so I think I'm going to show some slides here in just a second to chat about that, because it feels like I have a lived experience that is different up here. Cheryl, I'm not sure if you want to share anything about that, or Mom.
Sorry, we're in our own little conversation here.
And for those of you that have been on over and over, you now see Cheryl's mom's iPad assistant. So we're making sure that Mom gets on properly and they can both talk. But now you're having a sidebar conversation. Fabulous.
Oh, sorry.
So did you hear my question, or I'll go to somebody else?
You can, well, again, if you want, but I didn't hear it.
All right, I'm gonna pop on. Anybody else though? Anybody with a different experience yet? Erin, I want to maybe jump into you. I know you've been, and then Lucie Blue will jump up there to you. Erin, you are a gym rat, right? You've got a big competition you and your daughter are in just a few days. And so when you were ready for that competition, suddenly the gyms were closed. I know your daughter didn't even graduate, right? She was senior this year.
Right, we
And
did a drive-by graduation.
Share that. Pardon? Yeah.
We did a drive-by graduation. Yeah. Thank you, Joby. First of all, I just want to say hi to Joby's mom. I think you're beautiful. I think you're the superstar of the Zoom call. You win. You're the best. Oh my gosh, I love your daughter. So I remember, let me set it up this way. You know how all quarantines weren't created equal? Like, I had friends that when quarantine started, it was cold where we lived. And I had friends that had this pool in Phoenix, and they were like, we're just drinking, you know, Mai Tais by the pool. I'm like, okay, all quarantines are not created equal. Well, not all coming out of the closet experiences have been created equal, right?
Exactly.
So I am a gym rat don't even ask why, but I belong to 3 different gyms. And what's interesting about them is some of them require you to spray everything before and after. Some people don't even have, some gyms, like, you're not doing any of that. It's just fascinating. And I do think, like, what could be more dirty than the gym? Like, gyms are pretty dirty. So it's fascinating to watch people. Some people just stay at one station and don't move until they're, you know, that was one of the rules. Like, don't hop around, commit. You can't get off your station until you do that. Some gyms don't even care. And so I've definitely found that I like going to the gym that's everyone's spraying, and that's just the habit that everyone's doing. So it's very, very interesting. I will tell you guys this, it's interesting. Our next competition is in 2 weeks in California, and California just put you have to wear a mask rule up. And so we may be getting on stage in a bikini with a mask on, which I think is going to make for great pictures to show the grandkids someday and say, that really was grandma in the G-string with the mask during the COVID. So I think it's going to be a great story. Who else is going to have a mask on stage? Like,
Sequins.
You just got to go with the flow.
Do you need Mom to make you one with sequins, Erin? Because I know.
Yeah, I already ordered it. It matches my suit and everything. But yeah, so it's just, again, just interesting.
She just said grandma and G-string in the same sentence. I
did. I totally did.
You should see. Well, I'm not going to go there, but I'll share some photos, Linda. You'll understand. Anybody else? Dell or Cindy, Becky, Brendan? Yeah. I don't want to leave anybody out here before I jump into slides, but actually, Lucie Blue, we're going to go to you first. You're out in the Maritimes.
Yes. Let me see. Am I unmuted? Yes, I'm unmuted.
You're good.
Our provinces, where we are, we're in Nova Scotia. So you can either get here by coming through New Brunswick or the ferry from New Brunswick. That's how you get here. And so our ferry, of course, has been not working, hasn't been working. And our provincial borders are all closed. So it's like if all the states were closed and you couldn't get from one state to another state. So even though, for example,
hold on, Lucy. So you're saying, I'm gonna push there. So province, and thank you for translating to the US. So that would be like, we couldn't have come home driving from Texas to Arkansas to Illinois to Michigan. The Canadian provinces have been closed.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think I knew that.
So, so even though the Canadian border is closed to the United States, except for essential travel,
For good reason.
for good reason, yes. But, you know, safety, you know, they're doing everything that they can. But for example, when we left Florida in March, just before they closed the border. We heeded the Canadian call. They said, come home. We had just purchased this guest house. It was booked solid for the entire summer. I had concerts, the whole kit and caboodle. We rushed up here. They shut the border the next day.
Yeah.
And we haven't been able to leave Nova Scotia, not even to go to New Brunswick or Prince Edward Island, or even to go work in the studio. I have all these new songs, and I can't go to Montreal because the borders are closed from one to the other. And they're all opening really, really slowly. So New Brunswick opened up for a few days. And then a doctor from New Brunswick crossed the border into Quebec, came back to New Brunswick and infected all his patients. So they closed the border again.
Yeah.
So we've been dealing with all that kind of stuff. And where we are, it's totally tourism. So it's been really, really interesting for us because, of course, everything's canceled so far for us until the borders open up again. And once they open up, they may open within the Maritimes, but maybe not open to Quebec yet, or they may not open to Ontario yet.
Right.
But we can fly to the United States if we want. Oh yes, we want to, with our beautiful Nova Scotia masks. You see how my mask from Nova Scotia,
Did my mom
which
make
is
that
very
for you?
feminine. It's made with the brassiere elastic. So Mom, if you're thinking of new masks, these are brassiere. I thought I would share that with you. So this is the Nova Scotia tartan. And, but I just thought that I had to show that to Mom because I thought she might get a kick out of that part.
We couldn't buy it. We couldn't beg, borrow, or steal elastic. It was terrible.
But we didn't know we could use old bras, Mom. We didn't think of that. Thanks, Lucy.
So now we're at the point where we had, because we are very rural. So, and Pat has lung issues, and so do I, but I'm younger. So this is, you know, the time when I pulled the short straw. So basically we call in our groceries to our grocery store. And when we get there, they load them in our truck. So we don't have to go in the store. We wear gloves, we do the gas thing. We've been very, very careful. And as time has, we've noticed that we have a lot of elderly in our little village. So if I'm going down, I basically get on Facebook on our group page and say, I'm going down, what do you need? And so then we do the community thing. And it's very cool because we're the two lesbians in town and it's very fun.
So good.
So we're very out now. And so it's been quite people are very caring. And the bubble used to be, you could only be with the people you lived with. Then they opened up to a family bubble where you could have another family and only that family. And that bubble family could not be a bubble with another bubble family. So if you had someone else that was in your bubble, then all of a sudden, maybe you could be 4 people. And so, you know, that's how it's been. But I think now it's opened up to 10.
A bubble of 10.
It's a bubble of 10. That's what it's like out here right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
Where did that go? I'm following somebody. Was that Lisa?
Yeah, I just want to make sure if you're using the N95 masks from the United States or the KN95 masks from Asia, don't use the ones with the vents that are part of the mask. Those are for very specific uses for when you're doing woodworking or in places where there's a lot of dust or debris and so on. The idea that it's keeping you safe or anyone else safe with that vent in there, it is not. So stay with the cloth mask, stay with any of the surgical masks, and I think you'll be quite safe. And it's that idea, maybe you've seen these memes on different feeds and so on, but the idea of the reduction in risk by people wearing masks is just critical. So I just wanted to offer that.
Especially as you, so Lucie, when you go out and you bring your groceries to your neighbors there, are you masking and gloving as you drop those things off?
I'm masking, I'm gloving, I'm putting things in a plastic bag. I put them in their driveway. They come to their driveway and then they use their wipes and they wipe everything from the bag to what's inside the bag. And when we bring our groceries to the house, we have our grocery bags outside. And so then Pat's job is to glove up and wipe everything down before it comes in the house.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
pretty much.
And no
That's pretty
reusing
much,
gloves, right?
we're using, no, we're not reusing. But you see, in Nova Scotia, we've had 1,061 positive cases just in Nova Scotia. And the thing with Nova Scotia is that we've been hit like boom, boom, boom. We had that mass shooting of 22 people. It's been a lot of heartache in Nova Scotia. Then followed by, they said, okay, we're going to show, support. And so then the snowbirds went and they came flying over here. And of course, the people that died, the woman that died in BC was from here in Nova Scotia. Yeah. Then the helicopter crash in Greece, not Navy, but the helicopter crash of the Army. They were from Nova Scotia. So it was just like boom, 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 boom. And with COVID, it's just been unbelievable. So people are very resilient and very careful.
Yeah, and we well, and thank you for sharing that. I want to shift energy a little bit, folks. I want us to Barb has put together a really I'm going to offer an interesting slide deck, and we're not going to speak. There's a lot of numbers. We're not going to speak to those numbers. Barb, I'm going to toss it over to you if you're there, and unmute yourself and maybe put your face on if you'd like. But I just want to offer these as kind of interesting. And again, we are not putting ourselves as the truth tellers here. I know that no matter where you get your news, there has to be some critical thought, right, around how much of that you accept, and you get to have your own opinion. So please don't take it as we're putting this out there. We're lifting this up as quite interesting. So that said, let me share my screen, and Barb, I'm going to go to a couple of these slides for you, and maybe you can speak to them as they, let's see. How's
Right,
that?
this
is that good for you guys?
there you go. There's actually an intro slide. It's really important to understand context with all of these.
Sorry.
And there was a slide that had the details about who was surveyed and where and why, but looks like, Joe, that didn't make it in.
Hold on, Barb. Let me jump, because I'm sure it did. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see my slide deck a minute really quickly. You can go ahead and speak to this.
Okay. It's basically, the New York Times commissioned a survey of epidemiologists, and Canadians, it was a US-based survey, so there's no Canadian, I don't believe there's any Canadian data in it, but they surveyed 500 epidemiologists and had a list of 20 life activities, like send your kids to school, shake hands, meet someone for dinner, and ask the epidemiologists, when would you do this this activity? Would you do it in the next 3 months? Would you do it between 3 months and a year? Would you do it more than a year from now? Or is that something you think you may never do again? And because they're epidemiologists, they have some insight, into the health risks associated with the different activities that perhaps lay people wouldn't have. And so it's interesting to see what activities they think are safer sooner and what activities they think may take longer before they would do them again. And so Joe, are you?
I am. I found that slide for you. Somehow when I combined our two decks, it didn't make it.
Great.
There you go.
Oh. Okay, cool. So the thing to keep in mind with these numbers is the article was published on June 8th, which was before the spike that the US is currently experiencing, particularly in the South and the West. So, if they did the survey again, in 2 months or 6 months, the answers might be different. So
Yeah.
go ahead and we'll
yeah, you
we'll
can
take
just
a
tell
look.
me I'll forward the slides as you choose them, Barb. Just let me know.
Yeah, okay. So the things that most of the epidemiologists think are safe to do this summer are like bring in the mail without having to wipe it down or take extra precautions. Go see a doctor for a non-urgent appointment, vacation, overnight within driving distance. That's an interesting one that they think that that's something that is safer to do sooner. And getting a haircut, if you take a look at the numbers there, there's more of a mixed opinion. There's almost as many people say wait 3 months as say do it now. Go ahead, Joe.
I think it depends on your hair, Barb. I'm going to let you know, all of you have noticed my little non-COVID cut and Cheryl's non-COVID cut. Interestingly, when I went into my hair salon, they had all these new certifications. They had redesigned the salon. So there, instead of 4 chairs, there were 2. They had rules of how many staff plus customers could be in at a time. And it really made me feel, I'm going back to what Erin said, it made me feel very safe, like they were doing their work, even to the point of they couldn't be close together in the salon, the employees. And when I saw them doing that and speaking out loud, I was asking a lot of questions. It was my first time doing anything. And when I saw them following the guidelines that their profession had reset for them during COVID, I really, like Erin was saying, I felt safer there, and I felt that was okay as compared to maybe a place that put up the certifications, but wasn't actually following through, where I could notice that. So.
Yeah. The next set of activities generally fell into mostly the 3 to 12 months column. Things like, these are more social, most of them. Attending a small dinner party, having picnic outdoors, sending kids to school, working in a shared office, riding public transportation. So you can kind of see the things there that people generally thought. I'll give you just a second to kind of scan the list. But as you take a look, the further down the list you go, the less certainty there is among the population, because there's almost as many people in the 1 year category as there are in the 3 to 12 months category for the bottom one, exercising at a gym or fitness studio.
And then there's Erin, who's like, I'm there now, but I'm at this one, not this one. Yeah, and Kevin, I saw
Erin, you're in the this summer category.
Well, and Erin's in the brave category. I heard Kevin, I saw in the chat box, the reason he hasn't gone to work out is being careful like this. I heard that was your story, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
I've seen the data and I'm not going to the gym.
Okay.
Next one.
Great, go ahead. Let's go to the next one. The next one is there were some comments. Now, with epidemiologists, as with anyone, you've all heard the joke, right? You get 2 or more are gathered, you have 3 opinions. Well, they had the chance to give comments about some of these, and they're all over the map. So I just kind of picked 2 for each of, for some of these that are that showed the diversity of opinions in the community. On school, camp, and daycare, kind of a heart-wrenching response. This is a dreaded question. You can just see the anxiety in the words there. And then the bottom one there underneath that, we don't understand enough about the longer term consequences. And I think that's very true. We see more things published every single day. You can read something that's presented as a fact today, and tomorrow read something that says, no, that's completely not right. So there's just a lot that's still unknown, and we have a lot more to learn. same with visiting the elderly. These are kind of heart-wrenching decisions. Understanding that elderly are at increased risk. We also need to be aware of the real risk of loneliness. And then underneath that, it's a long time to go without hugging my mother. So just very heart-wrenching kinds of things.
These are, I will tell you on this right-hand column, actually both of them, my nephew his son is 6. And my nephew's heart is broken because his son is so angry at him for not letting him play, not letting him do some of these things that, as you all know, as adults, they're for his son's protection. But as a 6-year-old, he's not getting it. He's not understanding, especially as it's summertime,
right.
And on the elderly, these are the debt conversations we have with my mom. How careful do we want to be? And like you just shared, Barb, then you balance the loneliness versus what hug feels like and how important that is, even though at 91, although she's a young 91, my mom's at high risk just by definition. So we're glad you're here, Mom. Here's a few more, Barb.
Yeah, and Mandy or Edie, you're right with the comment. There's a lot of folks that are trying to move people away from using the term social distance. Because it's all about physical distance and social interaction. So on this last slide, the last numbers here, this is the activities that the epidemiologists see as being the farthest away. Attending a wedding or a funeral, a concentrated gathering for a period of time, usually indoors. So that's what a lot of these, hug or shake hands when greeting a friend. Folks are cautious about that. Attending a church or a religious service is another one. And like on the other page, there's split opinions about this because you can see in the middle column, the 3 to 12 months, some of these are just about equal to the 1 year or more. And again, I'm just reflecting the study as they presented it here. But attending a sporting event, concert, or play is there's more agreement on that being a little farther away. So go ahead, Joe, to the comment page for that. When to stop wearing masks. One of them is saying it's hard to know when it'll be the right time, but it's such a small inconvenience for notable gains. I find it hard to believe that anyone is in a hurry. And right underneath that, I'd love it to be sooner. I freaking hate wearing masks. So, you see the diversity of opinions and how that comes through in, with everybody, even among the epidemiologist population.
Yeah. And
then on hugs and handshakes, one said, if we have a good vaccine, perhaps the first thing I do is more hugs. So there's someone that, that speaks to the loneliness and missing human contact. But even so, that's someone who said that they would wait more than a year for hugs and handshakes. And then the last comment there in the bottom right, real epidemiologists don't shake hands. And is in the never do this again category.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, this one is a challenging one. I think, so much of our conversation organically went to masks, right? How often we see masks, if we wear masks. And, in the United States, it's challenging where this I'm an American, we're free kind of mindset versus it's not about you, it's about your neighbor. It's about protecting your neighbor. And I do find this one's challenging. I want to lift up too that Dell just mentioned about Gold. Dell, you've worked for Gold's Gym for some time, right? And just noting there, you close daily to clean in addition to your nightly cleaning. So I just really appreciate you sharing that. Barb, there's a couple conversations here. I'm just being aware of our time. We're just up to the top of the hour. You know what I'm going to do, folks? I think
that's it, right?
Yeah, there's a few more conversation questions. But I'm going to stop my sharing, and I'm going to do something different tonight because I want to really, first off, appreciate so many of you sharing your different experiences. Margot and Beth, I know you're sitting there right now with this conversation or this decision, do I have a wedding or not, right? And if I do, do we decide to make it smaller? Do we decide to make it outside? Do we decide to put off until it can be what we dreamed of? You know, there's so many challenging conversations, and all of them are heart-wrenching, right? And so I want to just thank you, Paul. I know for a few of you, Michael, the first time to be with us tonight, and this is what we do, Edie. We right away at Sanctuary said this is not about social distancing. It's about physical distancing and social connection. And that's why we put Sanctuary online right away. We told you at the beginning, we're gonna learn while we do it. It's gonna be sloppy, messy, you know, but we'll figure it out with your support and your grace. And I just wanna thank all of you who continue to come back and with that same level of support. Like I said, sometimes we're gonna have deep nights, a lot of education. Sometimes we're gonna have lighter. This is kind of our first panel or open conversation. Lucie, can I share an announcement, or would you like to share? Or I'm just wondering. I want to encourage folks next week. Next week, if these doggone borders, Kevin, as you shared, and Lucie, the border between the U.S. and Canada is closed. And as many of you know, my father passed away on July 4th years ago, and so our family, to include our Canadian family, always comes over. And we do all the things my dad taught us to love. We have a golf tournament and a big picnic out at the airport, and we can kayak down the river. And this will be the first year we don't do that with our Canadian family as well. So we decided that if we do this online, there's no way that closed border can keep the Canadians and the Americans from having a fabulous Canada Day in July. So we wanted to do that. We want you to bring along your most wonderful. Cheryl says I got my hair done for Canada Day for my red hair there. But you want to wear appropriate country attire, to possibly bring the beverage of your choice. And Lucie Blue, I think we have some possibility to share that we're going to have some entertainment next week. Unmute yourself, honey. Unmute. Unmute yourself.
Now, did you say this is on the 4th of July?
No, this is next Tuesday, June 30th. We're every Tuesday.
Yes.
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 So, Lucie, you let's see, you're not a nurse.
I am a dual citizen now.
Yes. Congratulations.
So I would be very, very happy to sing for my Canuck friends and my American friends.
There you go. So Lucie, I don't know.
I have to tell you, my mind was blown by that chart when you went down to indoor events and concerts. I got teary-eyed,
That's your work. And can I just do a commercial, Lucie? For any of you, I will add the link, Lucie, to your page. Lucie, you've been putting on, like a 90-minute concert on Wednesday nights and on Saturday nights?
And Saturday.
Yeah. So if any of you, Lucie,
March 26th.
Cheryl and I are actually, our photograph and a quote from us is inside one of your album covers, right? And
yes.
Lucie has been a good friend of ours for so long, a good friend of MCC for so long, has been out to visit Sanctuary in the Woods and offered right away to do a concert for us out there. And so Lucie, how appropriate, my friend, that your first concert for Sanctuary will be from Nova Scotia to Toronto, to Texas, to California. Jordy, where are you guys? You're on the East Coast of the US, right? Darcel out to California. Jackie down to Florida, is that right, Jackie? And Utah,
wow.
Reno. So if you would, I'm gonna end tonight.
Fantastic.
Lucie's gonna sing us off with a song tonight, and then next week, please remember, Lucie's gonna have a nice full set for us, and we will celebrate together. And we'll maybe have some education pieces. Maybe some of you Canadians will offer us some perspective on Canada Day, and we'll try and do the same from a 4th of July perspective. And we're just gonna have some love and some community, some social connection, Edie. And Lucie,
that sounds
take it away.
Well, so I wanted to know what background you want for me while I'm singing, because I have one of our guest house, which is right there. I have another one of the guest house, which is right there. And then I have one of our view, which is right here.
That's
so
their evening
it's
view.
just, and this is me on the porch. Here we go. So I think that would look too Gemini to leave both of me up.
Probably.
So,
how about a sunset, Lucy?
how about the sunset? I like that.
Good job, Kevin. There
Perfect.
you go.
How's
More
that?
Canadian water.
And so, but yeah, so I'm going to be, I am reinventing myself. And actually, I just booked a show with MCC Rehoboth to do a virtual concert for their congregation.
There you
So,
go.
you know, except it's when I do it on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I'm in my jammies because it's called Jamming in My Jammies.
I'll put the link out in the next email for all of you to join Lucy in her jammies.
It's just so wonderful to be with y'all. It's wonderful. This song is called "I Will See You," and I just wrote it during our time here. Sitting on the bay, the water rushes in. Oh, such a magical day. She rests for a while, then goes back out again. Oh, such a powerful friend. Her waves open wide, such a predictable tide. Walking by the bay, and the tide rolls out. Oh, exploring all about. Searching through stones for treasures of the sea, and so meticulously. Here in isolation, I think of you. You think of me with great anticipation. I will see you. Sitting on a porch on a bluff in Nova Scotia. Oh, such a dreamy kind of day. Watching the sunset easing down and down and down and down, and now there's purple all around. Here in isolation, I think with you. You think of me, great determination. I will see you. Sitting on a porch on a bluff in Nova Scotia.
Wow, unmute yourselves, my friends. That's just
Hey.
Lucie.
Oh, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Lucie.
That, my friends, is a teaser for next week. So invite, invite, invite. We will have a great time. We will have social connection, and we'll have some more music from our good friend, from Sanctuary's good friend, from Lucie Blue Tremblay. Thanks for sticking around a little bit extra tonight. Be well, wash your hands. See you Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you, Lucie. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Anybody who wants to hang around to talk, I'm just going to turn the recording off.